This car is 100% death proof. Death proof is up next on Rediscovered Movies. Hello, welcome to a new episode of Rediscovered Movies. I'm your host, Nomfanelo. We're back. Akin's back. Harrison's back. We're all continuing our conversation of Grindhouse, where we're going to be focusing on Death Proof. So, Death Proof is a 2007 action thriller film that's written and directed by Quentin Tarantino, who's known for films such as Pulp Fiction and Kill Bill. The film stars Kurt Russell, Rosario Dawson, and Zoe Bell. So essentially, this movie is about where Kurt Russell plays a stuntman where he essentially stalks and kills women with his car that is death proof. So this movie came out as a double feature with Planet Terror dubbed as The Grindhouse on April 6, 2007 in theaters. So in terms of box office, it made over $50.1 million worldwide on a $53 million budget. It opened at number 4 of over 11.5 million. It was beaten by films including Blades of Glory and Are We Done Yet? In terms of critical reception, on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 65% critic score, where they say Death Proof may feel somewhat minor in the context of Tarantino's larger filmography, but on its own merits, it packs just enough of a wallop to deliver sufficiently high octane grindhouse goods. The audience gave it 71%. So at the time of this recording, it is streaming on Prime Video and is also on video on demand. So check your local provider. All right, so we could get into first discoveries. So do any of you want to start?
We can go first if you want to, Ken.
Mine story was going to be basically the same kind of thing as yesterday. It was a movie rental situation where it was paired with Grindhouse, and that's how I saw the trailer for this one too. But again, back when renting movies was the thing, I was a child, so this definitely wasn't my demo. Like I wasn't the demographic for this movie at all. But it is kind of funny that all those years ago, I remember watching these trailers and sometimes skipping through them depending on these movies that we rented, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then now to come back to them to watch them for the first time and still kind of have them the kind of cursed memories of the trailers from back in the day.
Yeah,
It's kind of cool, but I don't really have much else to add to it than that. It's basically the same situation with the other Grindhouse film there.
yeah. I actually have a pretty similar experience with you. I watched Planet Terror on Netflix, but I actually watched Death Proof. Like I rented it. This was like, I live in like a really small town, and when I moved to like my new place around like almost like 10 years ago, like there's a video store that used to be across my street, and like I went there every day. Like it was awesome, and I was like high school, like grade 10. Yeah, I was going through my Tarantino phase, and like it was the last one on my list. But yeah, I was like fortunate enough to like rent it. Like it was really cool. So yeah, uh, I'm pretty blessed to have a video store kind of in my immediate memory, and it kind of makes the pain hurt even more. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
For
What about you,
sure.
Numpy?
So pretty much my story is the same as the previous episode. I saw both of these movies in theaters at the time as part of the Grindhouse. I was really looking forward to this one because it is Quentin Tarantino. So like when I first saw it, like I quite enjoyed it for what it was, but rewatching it now, I feel like it has not aged well for me. Like I noticed the flaws more compared to when I first saw it, but there's parts of it that I enjoyed, and then there's parts where I dislike it. So that's pretty much how I feel about this movie. So we could get into the highlights, what we liked about this movie. So any of you want to start?
We'll let you take the lead on this one because, yeah, we briefly discussed it yesterday, but I'm not the biggest Tarantino guy, so that's why
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how many highlights I will have. But Harrison, I'm sure you'll have a lot more than I will.
Oh, highlights. Actually, I might have to pass the buck on to Namfi because I don't have a whole lot to say that I liked about this movie.
All right.
I'm sorry.
So for me, like I like the concept. The concept is pretty cool because the fact that what hey, you have a guy, a stuntman, like wanting to kill one of his cars, like that sounds cool. So in a way, kind of like reminds me of Jaws, but I just wish like this movie resembled Jaws, but on the road essentially. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, I think it's cool the concept, even though the execution did not work for me. And also too, I liked the practical driving sequences. Essentially, any scenes of him like driving the car and him going after the girls like the separate times. I thought that was cool, especially with towards the end when the Zoe, Abernathy, and Kim are playing shipmass, and then they're being chased by Mike in the car. Essentially, that whole last couple of minutes was the highlight for me with this movie.
Hmm. Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and even that first chicken incident, basically that first like big collision you see where they're just going head on. It's pretty gruesome because it does like one of the few things I do like about it is the like kind of building of suspense as the two cars are on a head onwards to like a head on collision.
Hmm.
So it's pretty cool how it does its cut, and you see one of the girls has their leg out the window, and it kind of
Oh
focuses
yeah.
on that, and then
Yeah.
Yeah.
you see this guy coming in the distance really fast, and his lights are off and everything, and the other car is like completely unaware of it, right? So until
Hmm.
it's too late, and then you have the tire on the face, and then the leg flopping on the middle of the road, and it's kind of cool in that I did have when I did start watching it, I almost before it like gets too far when they're just kind of at the bar and you have stuntman Mike played by Kurt Russell, right? And he's just kind of walking around. I thought there was a weird kind of almost Once Upon a Time in Hollywood predecessor energy to it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
then
yeah.
that's quickly scrapped when it turns out that we don't even know if stuntman Mike is like just a serial killer or what the situation is, right? So it's like oh, well, I didn't at least. I was a little bit confused about it. But yeah, like there was that one element there where I was like, oh, is this like a prequel in a way, or like the one that comes before Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, or what was inspired off of, right? But
Hmm.
yeah, no, just that's about all the highlights I have.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, I know,
Um,
I know.
I actually,
I apologize. I will definitely add on to what you guys say, but
well, actually, I was gonna say like you guys are wrinkling my brain because like yeah, Namfi, you brought up Jaws, like
Yeah.
that would be like if you were to make this now or like do it differently, like that's definitely the way to go. That's a great idea. And
Mm-hmm.
like Akin, like I like your idea of it being more meta and commenting on like the passage of time or like generations of film genre or like kind of movie stars. Like you're saying, like it could be a predecessor to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And I think if they lean more into that, it'd be a way better, better picture. Sorry.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, that those are like that's the thing. Like I feel like discussing the movie, I'm getting more of it than like watching the movie itself.
Yeah.
Um, I'll second that. Like I think the editing is one of the better parts of the movie. Like I think this is one of Marsha. What's her name? God damn it. Sorry. She collaborated with Tarantino a lot, and this is her last like movie she edited for him before she passed away. I know it's a huge disservice that I don't remember her name.
Yeah. I think her name is like Sally
Sally Menke.
Menke,
Yeah,
something
Sally
like
Menke.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. No, like she really helped shape his early career, and I think you can feel that once she passes. Like you still get movies like Inglorious Bastards, Kill Bill, Hateful Eight, maybe like depending on like how you feel about it. But like I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is like fully unhinged Tarantino, and this is kind of like the first taste of that. I
Yeah.
will, yeah, no, I will definitely second your guys' opinions on ship's mass. Like, I think I have a lot to say about that actually, if it's okay with you guys.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Like I do think it is a bit loyal to a fault as far as like B movies go. Like it's more like accurate to a B movie of the time than like Planet Terror is, and I kind of appreciate that. But like, there's not much to it. I think this it's weird because like the first act is like half the movie, and then like past that point, the movie picks up and it gets really good, but then it's just like it's too little too late because I think the second cast of characters is like way better than the first because like they're
Yeah.
just the first ones are just sock puppets, so they're there to just get killed, and it's kind of annoying because like I like Zoe Bell, I like Rosario Dawson, I like the actress who played Kim. Like I thought she had some of the best lines in the movie. Like one of my favorite lines is, "You know what happens to motherfuckers who carry knives? They get shot." Like that was a good line.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
That is a great line.
Yeah, because she was essentially my favorite character of the girls, like with the movie too, and her lines are just
Yeah.
like chef's kiss. So
Yeah, I thought she was really great. One moment I really particularly liked. I think it was her acting in the chase between them and Kurt Russell when they're playing Ship's Mast. It's a very subtle like choice that they took with the direction and her performance. It ground like you can see while she's driving, like she's trying to compose herself, but she's crying, but she's not like bawling, but it's just you can tell that she's scared, but she
Yeah.
has to
Like
she
that
has to maintain
suppressed.
herself, or else like she's gonna kill Zoe Bell or kill
Mhm.
Rosario Dawson. And I think that's a very like grounded and like great choice for the scene, and like it just kind of like anchors everything. It's like this is real, these people are gonna die, she has to keep herself together.
It's actually cool that you mentioned that because to build up on that too, like all throughout the movie as well, she has this kind of like pretty like hard, like she's like the kind of hard-bodied person of the group, right? Who
Mm.
is like,
Mhm.
she jokes around and stuff, but like she's still like the fearless kind of leader. And to have her not like completely break, but to have those like suppressed, like clearly like breaking down in a suppressed way, but like
Mhm.
you're saying, she has to maintain composure so no one dies.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
was pretty good. That is actually something I didn't really even think about until you were bringing it up. Now that was very well done. Yeah.
Oh man, cool. Thanks. Yeah, no, I agree. I kind of like how like they didn't like go for it like fully with her like having that breakdown. Like she still does maintain like her core essence of her character. Like
Yeah.
she's the first one to shoot at Kurt Russell when they stop.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
like that, and like yeah, that reaction. No, there's just a lot of really good like character moments in the second half. I think one thing I really love about like the ship's mass like sequence and just like the chase scene is like there's no music. I think it really adds to like the tension, and it's just like it's a very good choice. And
Mhm.
I think Zoe Bell, like her stunts are incredible. Like wow, like
Yeah.
I couldn't tell if she was wearing a harness. Like it looked real.
It
Like
didn't
it
look
looked
it didn't look
insane.
like it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was insane. Like it looked like she was hanging off the car. And I kind of perked up because like the entire time I'm like I'm not into this, and then it's like oh hold on.
Yeah.
Like I think Death Proof has lower lows than Planet Terror, but also has like higher highs. And like I think that sequence is like the standout part of Grindhouse, if you ask me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's more or less like yeah, because like you guys already talked about Chip's Mast, and I don't wanna steal anyone's input.
Yeah, like I was gonna bring up Kurt Russell. I thought he did a good job, like as Stuntman Mike. For me, like it kind of had a bit of similarities to his character in Big Trouble in Little China, like
Yeah.
especially with the scenes with Pam. Anytime when he's interacting with her at the bar, and also too, there was that moment when he's talking with the first set of girls where he brought up, oh, like the book situation when she refuses to do the lap dance. So
Hmm.
I thought, I don't know, like if that was intentional, but I just thought like it was a pretty cool homage to that.
Yeah, he does sound like Jack Burton in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's probably doing it like intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. I
Probably
thought
because
that
like
was.
yeah, it's fun. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, it's fine, it's fine. And yeah, and there was like a moment where after when the girls drive off, he's like smiling at the camera. So I thought, oh, was he breaking fourth wall or was he just winking at the audience?
I think it could be a fourth wall break because like doesn't the bride
Yeah,
break the fourth wall in Kill Bill Volume 2? And
yeah, at
like
the
yeah, like the
beginning,
opening,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I'm not sure if that's just like her narrating or if it's like an actual like acknowledgement. I don't know.
I mean, probably, but
I don't know. I mean, like Tarantino likes to flirt around with that kind of stuff.
mm-hmm.
I'll have to
Yeah.
take your guys' word for it.
You
Yeah.
oh Kill Bill, man,
I'll get
Yeah.
to it. I'll get to it.
it's good. It's really good. If it's overrated, you can't blame us.
I'm sure it's good. I'm sure it's great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Like I'll also say I enjoy the soundtrack. I didn't recognize a lot of the songs, but I thought like some of them were were cool, like with the opening sequence, like when how that was shot, like with the characters' faces being obscured and the
Mhm.
POV shots. I thought that was cool, except for the feet, which we'll probably get into the next category. But
Oh
Yeah.
man, you have like 10 bullet points that just says feet.
No, I don't have that. I just have the like again. Yeah, well,
Just
we'll
the
get
one.
into it when we get into it. But it's just,
Mm.
yeah, I don't understand why it has to be there. That's all. I just don't get it.
Uh,
Like, you know, like I don't
yeah.
know. I don't think it's great cinematography to have that as a big focal part of it. But
No.
that's just me,
Yeah.
I guess. That's just me.
Yeah, and I believe he was actually the cinematographer for his own movie. So
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's like a really weird cut with that where it shows his like credit as like the cinematographer and it shows like a weird like male gaze shot and I'm like, okay, wow. That's a pretty odd choice, Quentin.
No, yeah, there were actually. I think that is an interesting thing that the male gaze was quite prominent in this one too. I thought,
Mhm.
unless I'm mixing the two movies up, but I thought it was this one where there were a lot more of
Yeah. I think it can work.
directed shots. Do you
I
know
think
what
it
I
can
mean?
work cuz like it adds to like the voyeurism of stuntman Mike. I think like when he's in the scene it makes sense. When he's not in the scene it's just gratuitous.
Yeah, I think
hmm
that's a good way of looking at it for sure.
hmm Uh, I think that's pretty much what I had it for this section. If there's anything else you want to add, but
Car
I
sequences were great.
mhm.
That's
yeah,
all. That's all I can say. Thumbs up for that.
Yeah, the effects are
yeah.
really good. Yeah.
hmm hmm Oh yeah, I will say like when the girls when they're at the diner, like the way it's shot with this with the panning shot, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was like the long take kind of sequence, eh? Where they're
Mhm.
yeah,
just
yeah.
yeah, that was definitely cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe with Stuntman Mike, he's in the background for that one. So
Really?
Oh
yeah,
yeah, cool.
I must
yeah.
have missed that. Dang, that would have been cool.
Mhm.
And oh, I did want to ask, did we ever go back? Because I may have missed this too. Do we ever go back to Mary Elizabeth Winstead when they leave
No,
her at the
that's in
farm?
my lowlights.
Yeah,
Okay,
same. Yeah.
okay, cool. Fair enough. I just want to make sure because that was also one of my things, but I'm like, I don't know if I
It's
before I look like an idiot, and just because I missed it, right?
mm.
I figured
hmm
I'd ask y'all.
Well, I mean, this movie's kind of a blur. It's easy to forget things.
Yeah, for
Yeah, like I, I forgot Eli Roth was in it,
Oh yeah, he was
just
like a
at the
yeah.
bar
weird
too.
cameo.
Yeah, it's a bizarre movie for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So we could actually get into the low light section. So I think for me, the biggest low light was Stunt Mike's motivation. Like, why was he going after these women? Like, is he a serial killer? Is he doing it for fun? I didn't get that part. So
Yeah. Well, I know like the sheriff and like the deputy from Kill Bill, like they're in it, and they make a mention it's like a sexual thing. I don't know. Yeah, it was very loosely defined, and I think if you're gonna go for something more ambiguous, like I think he has too much of a personality to be an ambiguous like Michael Myers kind of like faceless, shapeless killer.
yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
Like if it was just the car, then like yeah, you were mentioning Jaws. Like I think that's a
hmm
really good point. Like if it was just the car, if you just saw him in silhouette, or like if he never talked, I think that'd be different. Like if he played it more stoic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I felt like if his character could have been like a big threat like Jaws, like where maybe there was a series of incidents like involving women or people getting run over by like this car, and but just how like the movie was structured like was a mess for
Mm,
me.
Yeah, you are. You're both definitely. I agree with you both there because like the first act does definitely draw on for too long, but that is the big key. One of the big key issues for me is that like obviously like he is like the villain of the movie. If there is like kind of a clear cut villain, he's the closest to it, right?
mm,
Even
hmm
though like we don't really know why he does what he does, but that kind of does screw things up a bit because like you're saying if he was a bit more stoic then it's like he just does it because he does it because like we don't really ask why like you're saying Mike Myers does his thing or sorry Michael
Michael
Yeah.
Myers
Myers.
not the guy who voiced Shrek why Michael Myers does his thing or like Jason and Freddy and whatnot they just well even Freddy's a bit different but
Yeah.
like yeah like when you introduce him as this kind of charismatic and charming kind of guy with his all sorts of sticker or labels on his jacket, and he
Oh, yeah,
has
the
this
icy
cool
hot.
thing. Yeah,
Mhm.
and then he's like also like these qualities that he's like I like he doesn't even drink. He drinks a pina colada that's like a virgin pina colada, right? Like
Mhm.
Mhm.
he's not even like I guess like in movies, they always say like people who smoke weed or drink alcohol and stuff, they will be punished, right? But it's like
Mhm.
this guy is like so far pretty good, but then he just turns out to or just goes around
Mhm.
like harassing women and like assaulting women in his car, and it's a bit bizarre because you just don't really get any sort of justification for it. So you just kind of, in my mind, you just don't really care too much. You're just kind of waiting till shit kind of goes down, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
You do bring up a good point. Like it does like subvert that archetype of like, oh, if you do these hedonistic things, you're gonna get punished in a horror movie. And it's like it's the inverse of that. But like it's not really saying anything. It's just like, oh, it's the opposite of this thing that you know. It's just
Yeah, yeah,
needless subversion.
yeah,
Yeah. But I wonder, like, was he like a disgruntled employee? Because in the bar scene, he kept bringing up his stories as a
Mhm.
stuntman, like going through a bunch of credits that no one recognizes. And then at one point, he stumbles. So I wonder, like, maybe like he got fired or phased out as a stuntman because,
Yeah.
the industry wants to go digital and all that stuff. And maybe he's taking it out on the women that he pursues. But
Yeah, yeah, because like in the second half, like all the female characters, like they're in the industry. You'd think there'd be like some kind of commentary with that.
yeah.
Like maybe he's like an old part of the old boys club and he can't handle, like
yeah,
times are changing.
yeah,
Hmm.
This is just so frustrating because like I wish the movie said these things.
Yeah.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
For sure. What else did I have? I think yeah, like I've mentioned the structure because there's a lot of talky scenes and not much action given its premise.
Hmm.
yeah. That was one of the things that I think we briefly discussed at the end of
Yeah.
yesterday's episode too, where it's like you kind of try and avoid talking heads, and even though like even like the diner sequence when it was like though it was kind of shot dynamically where it was
Hmm.
constant movement and at least you're kind of stimulated in that your sense of direction is kind of changing, right? Even though it's
Hmm.
not changing very much, at least you're kind of going around the table listening to them. The talking does kind of drone on a bit, and it just kind of keeps going. I find to a point where I was personally losing a bit of interest in it,
Yeah.
but yeah, you do get that like kind of dialogue. You do get a lot of dialogue heavy stuff with like two real moments of action throughout the movie. But to get to those moments of action, you go through substantially larger amount of dialogue, and it's. I think it's more of like it's a good kind of way to I guess manage the pacing of a movie in a way, or rather the
Hmm.
beats of it.
Hmm.
But pacing wise, I think it suffers. It's
Oh
a good way to
man.
manage the beats of it, but pacing wise, it suffers because like I found also the conversations in particular they didn't really enhance the building of suspense or building of tension towards those action sequences,
Hmm.
right? They're just kind
Yeah.
of talking, and it's fine. It's not bad dialogue. It goes on for quite a little bit, I find. And when you eventually get the payoff, it's good, but it just feels like it takes an eternity to get to that payoff.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I'm sorry, the diner scene. That's like the second half with like the second group,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, really? I actually kind of like that scene.
Yeah, no, it's
Hmm.
again, it's for me, it's like it's not bad. It's just I found it kind of went on a bit longer than it needed to. But
Oh
again,
yeah, fair enough.
I'm also again a little bit biased when it comes to this particular director and stuff too.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's all good. It's an acquired taste.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure. And I thought, like, with the female characters, maybe with the exception of Kim, Zoe to an extent, like, they're pretty one dimensional.
Hmm.
Because all what they resort to is guys either scoring guys or, wanting to score weed, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, like I don't. It sends a lot of mixed messages. Like because like it because like on the offset, like people say this is a feminist movie, and I don't really know if it is. Like there's some pretty
yeah,
like wild stuff that happens in
yeah.
this movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Like
there's always an argument to be made for that, but I think
Hmm.
I think for it to be called a feminist movie in my mind is a bit of a stretch, but I'm not sure. Like again, yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, I think I cut you off. You
No,
were
no,
about to
it's all
say
good. It's
something.
all good. Like I don't know if you guys probably agree with this. Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character, like what happens to her. that's a
Oh
bit like
Lord.
bizarre. And
Yeah.
I'm like, so your friends just left you with this guy under false pretenses, and he seems pretty shady
Yeah.
in the middle of nowhere,
Very
just so you can
shady.
joyride. Like that's messed up.
Yeah,
And like
and then
they never cut back to her. Yeah.
yeah, they
Yeah.
never got back to her, and also like I just kind of was wondering about the aftermath. I'm like, so you went on this like thing, and obviously it wasn't entirely like their fault, right? That this guy just decided to attack them while they're trying to drive this car and all
No.
that stuff. But like coming back with that car,
Oh yeah,
I'd be
that's
pretty
not going to
pissed
end
off to
well.
see that.
Yeah.
Um, I think this is something Nafi and I actually we it's a bit worse for us because we've seen Kill Bill.
Mm-hmm.
The actor who plays that character, he's in Kill
Mm-hmm.
Bill, and he plays someone who's does some pretty awful things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's the same character because
Yeah.
Tarantino is he has a big and Tarantino universe.
Oh, it's a cinematic universe?
I'm pretty sure. Like maybe
Probably.
it's
No
not canon.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like the sheriff and the deputy are from Dusk Till Dawn and Kill Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, so
that's
it's either
cool.
in the From Dusk Till Dawn universe or the Kill Bill universe.
So then I think that if it's the same guy I'm thinking of, is it to do with the hospital in Kill Bill?
Yeah, you probably
Okay,
know
so
about that
then
part.
yeah, I
Yeah.
do. I think that's like one of the few snippets of it that I had seen, and that was I was watching Teletoon, which is a children's channel, but at nighttime they do more adult programming here in Canada
No
occasionally,
way.
right? So I
Mm.
remember seeing it once on Detour, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Wait, they
Because like
played
this
on
is not what
Detour?
I thought.
Whoa.
This is not what I thought it was going to be. But I mean, I
Yeah.
could be completely mistaken. But it was like a very late night, to be fair.
But
But
still,
I'm
like,
pretty sure it was a Detour thing. I could be wrong.
yeah, I was gonna say, like, I know Detour plays some pretty wild stuff. Like, yeah, like it's
Yeah.
sandwiched between
Mm-hmm.
Family Guy and Forget About It, Kill Bill.
Yeah, or maybe it was a different. I could just be also like blurring the memories. Like I feel like it was a Teletoon thing,
Hmm.
but maybe not
Mm-hmm.
specifically due to, or maybe there was another adult thing they did later on too.
I
But
know there's like Teletoon at Night and Teletoon Detour. They're pretty much the
yeah,
same thing,
fair
just
enough.
like
Yeah,
different names.
I'm pretty sure I did, but don't quote me on that, just in case I'm completely off. But I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that's where I first encountered Kill Bill, and it was that hospital part. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I think I have Volume 2 on PSP, actually.
Wow.
Like, I have a bunch of PSP
Sir.
movies.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was also going to mention like about Lee, like why is she wearing a cheerleading outfit when it's
Yeah.
their day off? Like
I thought they I may have misunderstood it, but I thought they said that she was either like being like an extra or something like that for it, or came back from a shift like that.
Yeah, I thought she was in
I
like a photo shoot, but like, yeah, like
yeah.
that would take like
Oh.
presumably like days later because like she was in a
Yeah.
magazine. Like that would
Yeah.
take like a while, like to like
Yeah.
actually get published.
Okay. Yeah. No,
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
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 I
It's
may, yeah. I thought there was something, but again, this movie is a bit of a blur for me at certain
it's
points.
also, oh look, iconography, cheerleader, horror movie. You get it?
You can see where this is going.
Sorry. I don't know. I feel like he does. I feel like Tarantino doesn't really know horror as much beyond like he knows like blaxploitation, he knows martial arts movies, he knows like crime movies, but like I feel like horror is kind of out of his like wheelhouse,
Mm-hmm.
and he just kind of like he does like very surface level stuff where it's like with more obscure genres you don't notice it because like people aren't as like familiar or versed in it. But I think like with horror, like people are a little bit more aware and like wise to the act with like some stuff. I don't know. I think it could have been a lot more clever. I noticed like also like the first half of the movie, like the writing was like really bad. Like the dialogue, especially in the first half, like the first act. I don't know how you guys felt.
Yeah, I'm right on that boat. Yeah.
Yeah, like in the car with like Jungle Julia, and she's saying like these like really like it's like is this like an indie movie from like 2012 or something?
Would have been
I don't know.
ahead
It
of
was
its time then.
yeah, well, maybe yeah. It's weird. Like yeah, like it's maybe it's like intentionally bad, but like I just hate that as an excuse. Like just make a good movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
It's just a
not
lampshade
that
excuse.
hard, guys. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. I think yeah, like I more or less have the same complaints as like Planet Terror. Like some questionable depictions of like female characters. Pacing is really bad. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like I think like the first act lacks a lot of agency, and it just kind of drags the experience down because it's trying to do like a whole like, oh, it's like Psycho. Halfway through, these characters are gonna die. I'm like, yeah, it's interesting. We didn't develop them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, which is crazy because they did get a lot of time to be developed. It's just not much development took place, right?
Yeah. It
Yeah.
just
So
wasn't utilized
yeah,
well. So.
it
No.
definitely does feel like the beginning of a horror movie where you just have these characters, but they usually that get killed off immediately, right? But you usually don't really have an emotional attachment to them. You just and
Mm-hmm.
that whole process takes like 5 to 10 minutes usually in like a standard horror movie, right? Whereas in this one, uh, how long does it take? Does it take like 20 minutes for them to kind of get out of the picture, or longer than that? I'm not
Feels
sure.
longer
Um,
than that.
I
Yeah,
think it's like 50 minutes or something. It's like
yeah,
way late into the movie.
yeah.
Like
So
40 minutes.
it's pretty crazy that it spends that much time trying to like half bake these characters and
Hmm.
then just get them out of the way. And the reason why like the payoff is that it's a really gnarly car accident, right? But it's like
Yeah.
you don't really care that any of them died, right? And
Yeah.
you
Mm-hmm.
don't even care that stuntman Mike might be dead. Well, I didn't. Like
I didn't. Yeah, no.
I was like, that was a cool car crash. Like, but
Hmm.
what's going on next, right? So where are we
Yeah.
going now?
Yeah.
And then we just basically start all over and continue going. We just have a bit more context as to the kind of mischievous behavior that stuntman Mike pulls.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
you can just like turn on the movie like as soon as like it jumps, like does that time jump.
Yeah.
Like
Mm-hmm.
it's bizarre. Yeah. Like no, I agree. Like they just spend so much time just to fridge these characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I would say like out of like the first group of girls, like Julia seemed to be the most interesting. It
Hmm.
seemed like the more interesting stuff about her happened off screen. Because
Yeah.
preferably there could have been like a scene or two that shows her like as Jungle Julia, not be referenced as Jungle Julia.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of tell don't show here, which is kind of
Yeah,
annoying.
yeah,
Yeah, I thought like Rose McGowan was okay in like the first act, but like yeah, she gets fridged immediately.
yeah. It's like poor Pam. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, like she could have took a taxi instead of asking for a ride.
yeah,
Yeah.
like they didn't really like properly build up like why she couldn't find like a ride with someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a pretty rundown looking bar too. Like I don't know, this wouldn't be the place where I'd be looking for a ride.
Oh
I
God,
wouldn't
no.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be taking that chance. It doesn't look like it harbors
Yeah.
the most upstanding people, right? So
No.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You just reminded me, Tarantino in the movie, like he is really bad.
oh, like
Like,
he's the bartender, right?
Yeah, as the
yeah.
bartender,
Owner.
he is so
Yeah.
bad. Like he makes constant like references to himself.
Yeah. It's like, is that a tasty beverage or is that a testy beverage?
Like that was really, really bad. Oh my God.
I
And
mean, I prefer him for this than with his role in Planet Terror. I'll give you that, but
at least
Oh
he dies
yeah.
in Planet Terror.
Yeah.
but
That's true, right?
still. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Lord.
I kind of, I almost, we did we talk about that yesterday? I
I don't think
completely
so.
forgot about that.
I
I
think
forgot
Yeah.
we
about the
missed that.
Tarantino
Yeah.
cameo.
Yeah.
Yeah, goddamn, what a character! What a character!
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like also too, like I'll point out, like there were some jump cuts I thought were noticeable, particularly when Marcy arrives to tell the girls about, I put contest in quotes. I thought there were some line cuts there, like were pretty
Oh
noticeable.
yeah.
I don't know if you guys noticed that, but
Maybe it's intentional.
I don't know.
I just
It's all
oh
art.
the movie's bad on purpose. I just hate that critic proof excuse. Like
At
seriously.
which point, then the movie becomes good because it did exactly what it was supposed to do, which was
Yeah,
make you believe
exactly.
that it's bad, even though
Yeah,
it's not bad.
exactly.
It's good at being
Yeah, is it
Mhm.
accidentally good?
bad. This has layers, guys.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, this
Yeah.
is we're breaking down the paradigm of Quentin Tarantino's
Yeah.
Death Proof.
Yeah. So what do you guys think about the whole proposition thing where like a guy has to like recite a poem or some nonsense to the girl and she has to do a lap dance? Like,
Pretty sleazy, honestly.
yeah.
Like, and not in like a meta way or like some kind of commentary. Like, I think I hated it mostly because like they actually did the entire lap dance, like the song in its entirety. Like it was like 4 minutes long.
It's like a the room kind of like a intercourse scene
Honestly,
situation. Where they
yeah.
just go through the whole thing, and you're
Like
like,
I
okay, we get the idea. Can we
yeah,
stop?
you
This
raise a
isn't
good point.
necessary.
Like you raise a really good point. I have an axe to grind with people who apologize for people like Tarantino doing the same stuff that Tommy Wiseau does just because he has so much acclaim.
Yeah, for sure. And you guys saw the extended cut. So what did you guys think of that version? Because the bits I saw on YouTube, I felt they weren't needed, like particularly with that whole black and white sequence. I thought that could have been cut out from the
Hmm.
movie.
Yeah, wasn't that sequence in color in like the Grindhouse version?
It wasn't even in the theatrical cut,
Really?
that whole scene with them at the convenience store.
Huh. Weird.
I wish I could tell you stuff, but I don't even remember that. I really don't.
Yeah, that's weird. Like I thought like I saw I thought it'd be like in color, like trimmed down or something.
No.
As far as like extra scenes, like that one wasn't that bad. It was
Yeah.
okay. Like I can definitely take it or leave it, but it's better than like the lap dance scene.
I mean, with him, what was it? He was licking like her toes, like when her feet were
Yeah,
out. Like,
that was just bizarre, and like that kind of felt like Tarantino like self-insert moment.
yeah,
Oh man, yeah. I guess that's a great segue into the use of feet in this
yeah.
movie and
Mm.
with Mr. Tarantino in general. I feel like I understand like people, and it's not to like kink shame or like I understand people have fetishes and stuff, but for it to like bleed this kind of transparently into your work, I think it's a bit much. And this isn't like this movie that I have beef with exclusively. I find like when I watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, to bring that one up again, there was a
Hmm.
lot of it too, and it's a lot of like it's not really like subtle. If it is supposed to be subtle, it's very not great. But this is kind of a low light for me, where it's just like such a unbalanced kind of focus on feet as being the prominent center object of a scene and the center of your field of view and everything. I'm like, I don't get it. It kind of, it really takes me out of it when it's like you're trying to, well, I'm trying to watch this movie, right? Which is about a stuntman who kills people, and there's just a lot of feet going on all over the place. And I'm just like, can like, is it necessary? Is it really that necessary? Like, I can understand wanting to keep a whole stripping scene in there for 4 whole minutes, right? I can kind of get it, but it's like, do we really need this many like unwarranted feet focused shots? It's just a little bit bizarre, and I think it doesn't really help um, I guess my outlook on most of Tarantino's projects either, because like when I notice it, you can't unnotice it, and then it keeps
Mm.
popping up. It's not a once or twice kind of deal. It keeps coming back, and you're like, okay, like I don't know, like it gets a bit much. I guess is the short way of putting it.
Yeah. I think the only time like a foot shot works in like, in one of his movies is I'm gonna bring up Kill Bill again.
Hmm.
It's when
Yeah.
she gets out of the hospital and she's like still like atrophied from like being in a coma. And like
Yeah.
she's trying to wiggle her toes. Like that's like the only time I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Like that's why that's in the movie.
Fair enough.
And it doesn't
Hmm.
linger on it. It's like it cuts
Yeah.
away to like Oren's backstory, I think, or something.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
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 Because here, like this movie, he kicks it overdrive with his feet. I'm like,
Is that a
there's
pun?
probably there's probably
Stab
like
proof.
yeah, there's probably hundreds of video essays out there that talks about this subject matter.
Yeah.
Probably.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Man.
Okay. I think that's pretty much what I have to say. Well, I do mention that, like, when I saw this movie on Prime Video, it showed the theatrical cut, and it was kind of weird that they included the credits that was shown in the Grindhouse cut, because I felt like here it could have been modified for the standalone release, but
Hmm.
whatever.
Yeah. Um, I is it okay if I add like one more thing, like before
Yeah.
we move on, please? Thank you.
Mhm.
I was thinking about like what was bothering me about this movie in particular, and kind of like how the characters were written, especially from
Mhm.
like a female perspective. And I think I know I keep bringing up Kill Bill. This is the last time, but I think specifically that movie is testament to why I think he needs someone else to bounce ideas off of, because Uma Thurman was very involved with like writing Kill Bill and the character,
Really?
and yeah,
I didn't know that.
because
That's
they
awesome.
came up with it like when they're making Pulp Fiction. Um,
Oh,
yeah, and I
that's
think in
cool.
like yeah, I think in Volume One, like they say like the character of the bride's written by like Q and U or
Yeah.
something,
Mhm.
and like yeah, like I think her input creatively really kind of anchored the movie. I know I keep saying anchored. I'm sorry. Um, but I think it's just like it adds like that relevant perspective that he lacks, and he kind of goes overboard in Death Proof, I think. And like he doesn't like I think he's saying a lot of stuff, but I don't think he knows like how to like put all the ducks in a row. I don't know. I'm not trying to like punch down in this movie. Well, I mean, he's a millionaire. He can take it. He can
Yeah,
take it.
again, nothing really against him, and like
Yeah.
I hate to crap on stuff too, right? And it's like I can see why people like it and stuff too, right? But then
Hmm.
like there are certain things about it I like it too. I don't know. I find I do think, and I'm gonna be bringing up Once Upon a Time in Hollywood again,
Mm.
but like
Mhm.
in a similar fashion to what you guys kind of were saying based off Kill Bill and stuff. I felt like that movie was a little bit too much Tarantino. Where I do
Hmm.
agree. Where like I haven't seen too many of his projects, but I really like Django Unchained. But the other ones that I have seen, I feel like you're absolutely right. I feel like he definitely is a bit too involved with his own work, and I think he kind of needs someone who's on the outside that, not so far outside, that kind of understands how he works, right? But to
Hmm.
kind
Mhm.
of give that like, I guess, universal kind of ness to a movie, because I found the same kind of thing where it was kind of like Tarantino's just taking a piss and he's just doing whatever he wants because the studios are cool with him doing whatever, right? Because they're like,
Yeah.
he's Quentin Tarantino, so he can do whatever he wants.
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's most likely not going to happen for him bouncing off ideas with
Yeah.
someone. So
Yeah.
you have to
No.
take what we can get. So
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Hopefully he'll rein himself in. I know like he's a bit like he kind of coped a bit with like some of the negative reviews for Death Proof. He's like where he's like talking about like why people didn't connect with it. Kind of sounds like it's just like yeah, he's just seething and coping. He's like, oh, you didn't like it because you didn't get it. No, I get it. Like I it's funny because like a friend of mine, he enjoys this movie, and we had a discussion about a movie called Faster Pussycat Kill Kill, and he
Mhm.
said like that movie has a lot of influence on this one, and like maybe if I watch that, I get more out of this one. But like my problem is like I don't like it when movies inherently gatekeep the audience from enjoying the movie because they haven't like done their homework. I find that annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we haven't looked at the entirety of the QCU, right? So yeah, and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
it would have been good to know, I guess, the post credit scene from Death Proof going into
Oh
the
yeah.
or Planet Terror, sorry, going into this.
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh, is there a post credit scene for Death Proof or no?
No, there's none.
Oh, okay,
I
no.
Thank
have no
God.
idea.
But
Thank God.
The car reignites, the engine comes back on.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, anything else you guys want to add for this category, or
I think I've complained enough on my end.
yeah?
Yeah. I gotta I gotta soften some of my complaining. I do have a lot of respect for him, Tarantino. I respect the
Same,
craft.
same.
It's not easy to make a movie, and the fact that it's watchable in the first place, I think, is like a testament. Like I think it's entertaining for what it
Yeah.
is. Like when it's good, it's really good. But I find it doesn't really do much for me, and it has really pretty bad pacing. But I do think like the merits of like the stunt work, the effects, like how dedicated it is to being a pastiche film. Some of the acting's pretty good. Some of the casting's really good. I do think there are good qualities about the movie.
Of course, yeah,
Hmm.
Yeah.
yeah.
For sure. So we could get on to the trivia section. So Tarantino, he came up with the idea for this movie when he was having a drunken hotel night with Sean Penn. Yeah, which is interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. So Tarantino, he wanted to buy a Volvo because he, quote, didn't want to die in some auto accident like the one in Pulp Fiction. In regards to the safety of the car, Sean Penn said, "Well, you could take any car and give it to a stunt team, and for $10,000 or $15,000, they can death proof it for you." And then the death proof phrase stuck to Tarantino after that.
That's
cool.
really cheap, actually. Like 15,000 to death-proof your car.
I was going the other way. I'm like, that's really neat that's how it started. But you're
Yeah.
absolutely that is pretty affordable for death in your car.
Like
Yeah.
put a roll cage, put a chassis.
Yeah. Yeah. It's probably before inflation, but
Oh
yeah.
yeah, this is like 2007. This is before the recession.
Yeah.
Hmm. For sure. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
So also too in 2021, Tarantino, he appeared on a episode of Joe Rogan where he mentioned that he originally wanted Mickey Rourke for the role of Stuntman Mike. So apparently, like they agreed on that, but then once the agents got involved, it fell through. And then I guess from Robert Rodriguez, he decided to cast Kurt Russell instead.
Hmm.
So I thought that was interesting.
I think it would have been better in the role, actually.
I think so too. I think Kurt Russell kind of brings a little too much charisma to it.
Yeah, he's
Whereas
too
Yeah.
I think
charismatic.
Mickey Rourke may have actually been a bit more, a little bit more stoic. I think in that way, which again goes back to what you were saying. That may have worked a bit better actually, but
Yeah, thanks.
who knows?
Yeah.
We'll never know.
I guess we'll
Yeah.
never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So with Zoe Bell, so after when she was cast, Tarantino told her that he would hire a second stunt person to take her place in the stunt scenes where her face wasn't visible. She insisted on performing the stunts herself, saying if someone else were to cast her in the role and she was only performing the stunts, those were the stunts she would do. And then Tarantino honored her request. Thank
Damn.
God. Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for that. Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah.
Also, too, the poem that Jungle Julia has her listeners recite to Arlene is an excerpt of the poem Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. It's also a reference to the 70s thriller Telephone, in which the poem was used as a post-hypnotic signal to activate Russian sleeper agents.
Okay, that's probably intentional. Like
Yeah,
that's
probably.
probably an intentional homage. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. And also, too, there was a scene that was cut that showed stuntman Mike masturbating in his car after the first car
Of
crash.
course there was.
Yeah.
After the first car crash, when when he goes over the car and the car flips how many times, he was gonna pop a quick wank.
Yeah, it's like Rocket League.
Yeah.
Rocket League.
Yeah, but then
Absurd. Wow.
yeah, but then luckily he deemed it unnecessary.
Oh, good.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Good.
That would have been, yeah, a different movie. And then last one I want to share that I saw this the other day. So throughout the years, Tarantino like has shared his thoughts on this movie. So on Variety, there's an article that says he calls Death Proof bombing a shock to my confidence and says his films lack sex because it hasn't been necessary. So this was during his press tour for his book Cinema Speculation, which it is
Mhm.
a good book.
Okay.
So he mentioned here, quote, I've been lucky enough to write stories that have connected with many people, and this has allowed me to practice my art without the restrictions that most filmmakers have. Now, a funny thing happened. For a while, I was getting a lot of project proposals until the studios ended up assuming that I do my stories and it wasn't worth the effort. But after Death Proof, which didn't do well at the box office and was a bit of a shock to my confidence, I started getting proposals again.
Mhm.
This must have thought perhaps he's now touched and his temper has gone down. Now is the time, Tarantino added. And there's nothing wrong with making commissioned movies for Hollywood. They always offered me interesting projects, but I prefer to reinvest in myself and made Inglorious Bastards.
Mhm.
I have actually seen that one.
Hmm.
I haven't seen it in forever.
Yeah, it has been a long time for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think of it?
I thought it was cool. I thought it was
Okay.
very, very neat. Kind of. Actually think I saw it again in university.
Oh, cool.
Where we I had a cinema history class, and it was kind of to do with like rewriting history,
Hmm.
which was a cool example to use.
Hmm.
But yeah, so but again, that was years ago too, so I haven't seen it since then. But I do remember enjoying it a lot more than like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, for example. Or right, yeah, yeah.
It's like
Again,
you real.
it's not bad. It's really not bad. It's just not for me. That's it. That's it.
Uh,
I haven't really like all my negative stuff is just it just didn't tickle my fancy. That's all.
I mean, I have an axe to grind with Once Upon a Time as well.
Yeah.
You're not
Okay.
alone. I'm in the
Okay.
same boat.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want some of the fans out there getting a little bit upset about it or anything. No, I have
Yeah,
nothing but
yeah.
respect for the guy as well.
Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's pretty mixed, like reception wise. Like I know like there's like a bit of a divide, from what I've seen. Like I know a lot of people who are diehard Tarantino fans and they hated Once Upon a Time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same with Death Proof. I don't know, I just find that interesting. Like I'm just like it's probably like the reason why he felt like that was such a blow is because like he's made like hit after hit after hit and like everyone's praised him and like he's garnered so much acclaim and like this is
Mm-hmm.
the first time he's kind of made a dud. And like, yeah,
Yeah,
like I'm not saying like, oh, grow up, get thick skin. Like I get it. It's probably pretty demoralizing. But like
yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
thing. Like he's made like how many critically acclaimed movies, and some of them are like in like the top 250 on IMDb. Like at the end of the day, like it's all gonna come out in the wash. Like
Yeah,
it's
that is crazy. Yeah, right after this was Inglorious Bastards. That's awesome.
yeah,
yeah.
like he's made like some of the most influential films in cinema
Yeah.
history. Like it's okay to make a dud.
Here and there, yeah.
Everyone messes up the first pancake.
that is that is a saying to live by. That is
Yeah.
Thanks.
too true. Too true.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Wow. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So lastly, I usually end with this question: should this movie be rediscovered? I'll go first. Unfortunately, I have to say no. Like the idea is there, the execution was terrible. I would say if you were to watch this movie, like watch it for the action scenes, particularly with the last half of the movie.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think like Ship's Mast is like the highlight of the movie, and same with Grindhouse. Like, if you're a diehard Tarantino fan, like you probably have already checked it out. But like, I'd say like video essays or like podcasts like this one,
Yes.
they do a better job of like actually like going through and you know like breaking down the movie. Sorry, that was kind of conceited and a little narcissistic of me to say.
So it's weird because I think I enjoyed Planet Terror more, but I didn't. I figured that was not the one that should be rediscovered. But I think this is actually one that needs to be rediscovered. Not because it's like not because it's particularly fantastic, but I think it's a good kind of example to kind of watch and like see like how and it's again not to be like to learn from it because it's bad kind of situation. I don't mean that either, but
Hmm.
I think there is a lot you can learn from it, right? Because
Yeah.
you do sit through this movie which basically has two cycles, right? It basically has two plot rises where it's you go up, you have your climax, you come down, it's done, and then you have your new set of characters, you go up, you do the climax, and then it's kind of done. So you have two big spikes throughout this one. And
Hmm.
it's kind of interesting in that way because like although like I was saying, I did enjoy I think overall Planet Terror more. I think I enjoyed more of it kind of felt like a bit like a farce after a while just because it was very 2000s and like it was like that's why I'm like you don't really need to like ever pull it back up, but this I think was a good one to pull up because although the dialogue as I was saying earlier does go on a little bit longer, it is still like pretty decent dialogue at certain points, especially the diner, right? But you
Hmm.
also do have some of the not great dialogue like you were saying, Harrison, in the bar. And then
Hmm.
you also do also have the very cool car sequences, which I was like, just seeing those alone can show you
Hmm.
because they look low budget and stuff too, but it looks like it accomplishes way more than it can actually afford, right? But it's
Hmm.
I think those are kind of very valuable traits to keep in mind still. So that's why I think it should still be rediscovered. But overall, I do like Planet Terror. I think I enjoyed Planet Terror a bit more, just because it's a
Yeah.
bit more well rounded. But I do still think this has some sort of worth in rewatching.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would like recommend it for like the practicality of it all, like with the car sequences. It does like comment on like the whole CGI versus practical stuff a bit, but doesn't go all the way. But yeah, like just refreshing to see like those types of scenes compared to how those scenes will be filmed today. So
Hmm.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
So before like I wrap things up, like for fun, like how would you rank this film amongst Tarantino's filmography?
Ooh. Oh wow, that kind of caught me off guard.
I mean, I can start it off just because I've seen the least, I think, out of all of his stuff, right? So I'll do that, and then I'll let the big dogs battle it over there because you guys are much more educated, right? But I've only seen Pulp Fiction, Inglorious Bastards, Django Unchained, Hateful Eight, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Mhm.
So I definitely think that this and Hateful Eight are kind of in the same boat. I need to rewatch it. But above that is Pulp Fiction. Um, well, actually, no. Above that is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Above that is Pulp Fiction, Inglorious Bastards, Django Unchained at the top, which I actually quite enjoy Django Unchained. But the other ones I have a lot of mixed feelings on, and that is all I will say. And now you guys can actually debate
Oh.
because you guys actually know what you're talking about.
Yeah, because with some of his films I have not seen in ages, but I will
Mhm.
say like with Death Proof, it is like lower tier for me. Like I'll probably say like with the Hateful Eight, like is the bottom for me because for that one I have not rewatched it a bunch of times, mainly because of that twist that movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I would say top tier for me like would be Jackie Brown. I know that's considered to be like his underrated
Hmm.
film of his filmography. Also high up there like would be Kill Bill. I'll count it as one film as opposed to two. Like I'll also put yeah Django Unchained and Glorious Bastards up there. I think with Once Upon a Time, like I've slowly liked it more like with rewatch because the first time I didn't quite get it, but yeah, that's pretty much, I guess, how I'd rank his filmography. I think, like, with Reservoir Dogs will be middle tier for me. Pulp Fiction, I find it's a tad overrated, so it'll be middle tier for me. I think that's how I would rank it, at least for now.
Yeah. Oh man. I've seen all of his filmography, but a lot of like some of his stuff I haven't seen lately. So like I want to like kind of like I don't want to like put any shame on them or like I want to give them their due diligence. I've seen Jackie Brown once. I gotta watch it again. I've heard very good things about it. I want to check it out again because I liked the movie Out of Sight, and I know that's kind of connected because they're both in the same book series.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I want to see Django again. I've only seen that once. Like I know that's like a bit like blasphemous, but like it's like 3 hours. I got to sit down and watch it. I
It
remember
is a
liking
long
it.
one.
I remember liking it. I don't know where I'd put it because I haven't seen it in like a decade.
Mhm.
Um let's see. I definitely would put like Death Proof lower rung. I think it's probably better than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like it's
Oh.
probably like I think that one for me is like his worst. Once Upon a Time. And then like
Oh.
above that Death Proof. Um the other ones, I think they're all just kind of a tie, or like I guess like my number one probably be like Kill Bill, and then like Pulp Fiction. True Romance is pretty good too, but yeah, I'd have to like really sit down and like do like a Pepe Sylvia like diagram of like every movie.
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm like I wouldn't say I think I enjoyed Once Upon a Time more because I find at least with that movie the dialogue for me worked compared to this movie,
Hmm.
but because at least like with that movie you know like it's about like Hollywood, while with this one not I don't know what so much I don't
Yeah,
know up in the air,
you
but
know what? Yeah, you might have changed my opinion. I guess like they're kind of like tied right now. Maybe Once Upon a Time is slightly better because there's like a little bit
hmm
more going on.
yeah,
I'll give you that. Like I'll probably bump up Once Upon a Time.
yeah,
Like
for sure.
just one slot though. Like it's
Amazingly slot.
For sure. Yeah.
one
So,
quarter. Yeah.
so that pretty much wraps things up for this episode of the podcast. So, Akin, anything you want to share for plugins where people can find you?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be the same as the other episode. I have my own podcast that I need to be getting back to work on. So you can find that on Instagram at the Alternate Cut, and then we have a new one coming up, which can also be found on Instagram at Nifty Shorts, and you can listen to those basically wherever you would get access to super cool podcasts, just like this one.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. I have a short film coming out. By the time this episode releases, it'll probably be on YouTube and like Newgrounds and Vimeo. It's called Graveyard Shift. It's currently in some festivals. My channel and Instagram handle is Coomstick. It's a weird pun. Anyways, yeah, no, thank you again for having us on, Nafi. This is
Yeah,
you've been a great host. Thank you so
yeah,
much.
and it's been a blast talking about these movies with the two of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a pleasure to having both of you here, like on the podcast. And I would love for you guys to come back in the future.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'd love to come back on.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I'm on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Linktree at Numphy Malloy. You could also find the podcast on Instagram, Twitter, Linktree at RD Movies Pod. For those of you that listen to the show on Spotify, you can answer the feature question and the polls and also rate the podcast. For those of you on Apple Podcasts, please leave a review and rate the podcast. You could submit questions, comments, and suggestions by email, which is rediscoveredmovies@gmail.com, or you can leave a short voice message on Spotify for podcasters, which was formerly Anchor at RD Movies Pod to be featured on the after show, which will air after the season finale. So, do you guys have any final notes you want to say about Grindhouse, Death Proof?
It's worth experiencing at least once, I think.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I would say for Death Proof, watch a theatrical cut over the extended version because those ones are just extended scenes, which I feel are unnecessary. But
I
Yeah,
agree.
hey,
I
I
would
agree.
completely agree with that.
I haven't seen it, but I agree.
Yeah.
for sure. So I want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode of the podcast, and I'll catch you on the next one.